Hi there. Today we're talking about sometimes leaders have to be selfish. Whether you're the leader in your home, a leader in your church, a leader in your social, philanthropic, and or nonprofit organization, or a leader on your job. Sometimes leaders have to be selfish. Sometimes you're going to have to put yourself first for the best interest of the team. My name is Jennifer Mitchell Early. I help individuals and teams achieve organizational and personal success. And this is Leadership Matters. We're all leaders in one capacity or another, in one form or fashion. And as such, if we're not careful, we will experience overwhelming stress, fatigue, and burnout. And so today we're going to talk about identifying signs of burnout and what you can do to kind of pull away and take time for yourself, to be selfish, to consider yourself, because sometimes when you're juggling everything, you have enormous responsibility and you're carrying what feels like the weight of the world on your back, and everyone's looking to you for direction. Everyone's looking to you for inspiration. Everyone's looking to you. You will find that burnout is also looking for you as well. Burnout is just around the corner. When every exchange blends into another, when every day feels the same, when the monotony is just so much that you just have no motivation to continue going on. That's what I'm referring to. That's one of the key indicators that you're headed, for a crash landing into Burnout Valley. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you have low energy, low motivation, lack of desire, those are all indicators or indications that you could be, on the path of being burnt out. So a couple things that I want to tell you to look for is, one, if it's hard for you, if you're not motivated to go to work. I'm not talking about, sometimes we're just tired or we're not feeling well, or we don't feel, like being bothered, for lack of a better term. And we all have those moments, right? Where we're just like, man, I can't wait for a vacation day. Man, I can't wait for this to be over. I can't wait for for the next break that comes up. I can't wait, for the term to end, whatever the case may be. That's a little different than just the overwhelming anxiety that comes with, God, I just don't think I can go in today. I don't think I can be bothered with this another minute. If you have, if you have anxiety leading up, like days in advance of, a meeting that you lead, or participating in an event where you're the leader, those are some of the things that I'm talking about. Another thing that you want to watch out for is if you're bone tired. I was just talking to a friend of mine about, her new experience, her new work experience, and her new leadership position. And I was just saying to her, man, just listening to it reminds me of some of my own leadership challenges and the fact that I was just bone tired. I was weary to my bone. I could feel just the exhaustion of being in perpetual motion, mentally, physically, spiritually, in this, in the challenges and the battles that come along with my leadership position, that I was all tapped out. Like there was nothing left. Being bone tired or weary to the bone or exhausted comes from different situations. It could be you really are working long hours, doing very tedious work. Then you're pushing yourself to the brink. And it also could come from anxiety, stress, or worry, which, could possibly even be interrupting your sleep patterns and causing you some undue stress and causing you to overthink and overanalyze, which means your mind is constantly going. Whatever the case may be, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not getting enough rest, if you're not being able to, step away and stop the momentum of always being in that cycle of trying to get things done, of being overwhelmed, of being stressed and worried and trying to strategize and think things through, that's another telltale sign. Another thing that I want you to pay attention to are your moods. Are you moody? Are you having a hard time controlling the mood swings? Are you depressed? Do you feel that you are having troubles just, the day-to-day, if you're overreacting to very, otherwise simple things that would not have provoked that type of response in you? Your emotional mindset is very important during this time as well. If you're having a hard time keeping your emotions in check, or if they're leaking into your work life, your daily work activities, your work exchanges and dialogues and communications, that's something that is a telltale sign that you need a minute. You need a break. You need to get a check on your emotions and your moods and your levels of stress. And a final thing that I want you to be cognizant of is something, I remember having, positions where in the beginning I was excited, I was enthusiastic, I was passionate about the work. I look forward to going in. I look forward to problem solving and whatever new challenges came along, because I was confident that, the team or I would be able to find a solution, a holistic solution for the client. And then over time, it became more and more challenging to have that same level of enthusiasm, that same level of passion for the work that was being done. Instead, my focus was on all the challenges that we weren't able to resolve, or the people who weren't, pulling their weight, or just the negative chatter of the environment and the naysayers, and beginning to buy into that perspective and that frame of thought. If you're having these type of struggles on an ongoing basis, now, be clear, some of these things that I'm talking about, you're going to have these moments. I mean, that's life. That's life in leadership. There are going to be times where, you go past and you kick your garbage can. Or I remember there were times when I was working in the staffing industry where, I'd done all the interviews. I talked to the client. I negotiated the rate. We're all ready to start. And the person is a no-show. And my client is like, what's going on? I really like them. Is it the rate? What's the problem? And you just don't know, because no one ever communicated with you. I can remember times sitting in my office and throwing my stress ball around the office and letting it ricochet off, as a way to release stress, number one, and two, to kind of provoke, this problem solving, this brainstorming in my head about, what the next steps were, reaching out to, the potential employee, revisiting the rate, looking back at the pipeline, whatever the case may be, just trying to ensure that I wasn't in the same situation over and over and over again. So those are one-offs. I mean, some industries are certainly more stressful than others, but you're going to have those days where nothing seems like it's going right. You're going to have those days where even your best laid plans fall short. You're going to have those days that no matter what, people don't seem like they can be satisfied, right? Even you, as a learning and development consultant, I can spend hours on aesthetics, on design, on formatting, because that to me is as important as the delivery of what it is I'm doing, is what's in the, for example, participants guide or presentation and all those avenues and vehicles that I use to communicate the message and the learning. So you're going to have those days where, you're just like, forget it. I'm done. We'll try again tomorrow. That is a normal situation. What I want you to think about are those things that are consistent, that are perpetual, that where you feel like you are drowning or losing yourself over time. I mean, again, consistently, again, day after day, where you just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Those are the situations that I'm talking about. So you're like, Jennifer, I get it. Okay. I'm burning the candle at both ends. I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm checking the boxes. Sounds like it's a fit. Every day I'm putting forth my best effort in any area, whether it's home, mothers, we juggle a lot, and we're trying to not only juggle personally, especially during now, but also professionally and be able to keep everything together. And we're having a hard time right now. So you're like, I get it. That's me. I'm trying to drive results. I'm having some issues. I'm tired of constantly, trying to create momentum that's no longer there. What's next? What can I do about it? Well, I'm glad you asked, and you're at the right place. Of course, your girl has some tips for you. Tip number 1, sometimes you just got to tap out, right? Sometimes you have been moving at such a pace that you just have to slow down and stop. I've taken even a small break from this, because there was a lot going on, and my focus was divided. And sometimes when there's confusion, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like the Lord is not the author of confusion. So I am a woman of faith, and faith is my barometer. And I use that to guide me through situations in my life. I can't do it alone. And, I often turn to the Lord for wisdom and direction. So that's one. But when confusion comes up, I know, since God is not the author of confusion, I know this is not really where I'm supposed to be, but I also know there might be a lesson in it, right? There might be something that I'm supposed to learn in the process. So I just have to ride it out. And sometimes we ride out situations to a point, and then you get the direction to just, enough is enough. You've been in a ring for so long fighting. Even boxers, the bell has to ring at some point, and you have to go to your corner and you have to regroup. I'm saying to you that one tip is to know when to regroup, to know when to say, okay, cut, time out. I need a minute. I need a sabbatical. I need a retreat. I need a moment. Mommy's not here. I'm going to take a day to myself. I need a vacation day, a mental health day, whatever you want to call it. Know when to tap out. The second tip, know how to decipher or learn how to decipher the doors. And what I mean by that is, there's a lot of nice quotes online on Pinterest. You can find them. I have posted them myself from time to time over the years, where it talks about, if the door is closed, kick it open. I think what's important is to also, and what's important in that situation is to know, is to be able to decipher the door. Is it a closed door for a purpose? Are you supposed to even try to go through it? Some of us just wear ourselves out trying to kick through doors that we're not meant to go through, that are not your door. And so you're fighting, you're kicking, using all of this energy, trying to get through a door that's closed, probably for your protection, for your benefit, because it's not your door. And if it is a door that should be kicked open, there'll be something that comes to you so that you don't exhaust yourself in the process. A door that's supposed to be open doesn't necessarily, I don't think, have to be kicked down. I think you just have to have the courage to turn the handle and try it. Some of us get to a door and we don't even turn the handle to see if it might be open. We don't even have the gumption or the courage to try to access it. So I think an important thing is to decipher the door. 3, put yourself first. We're talking about being selfish. Selfish is not a bad thing. I know we were raised with that connotation that we should share and all of that. And you can, as long as you have something to share from. Recently I was in a situation where, it depended on the receiver of the message to make the determination of whether or not they felt like this was good news for me or this was bad news for me. But nevertheless, they were calling me because they wanted me to console them. And I thought, 1, it's not bad news for me. And 2, I can only give you out of what I have. We've talked about before filling up your cup first. And that's what we're talking about again today. You can't give somebody something you don't have. You can't be kind when you don't have kindness in you. You can't be gracious when there's no grace in you. You can't spread joy when you have no joy, when you have none. So make sure that you are taking care of you. Take the time away. Learn to say no, people. It doesn't work for me. It's okay, because I'm going to tell you what. A lot of times we get ourselves in situations where people are pulling on us, looking to us. Well, and it does something to our ego. It makes us feel like, well, oh my gosh, what would they do if I don't do it? As if you're their savior. You're not. Let me help you. You are not anybody's savior. You can barely be your own. And you're not even your own savior if you have your own, if you have faith and you look to a higher power. So stop putting on a cape that doesn't belong to you, much like that door we talked about. Say no. Look at your time. Look at your resources. If you can do it and you are comfortable and you feel called to it, then by all means do it. If you feel uncomfortable and you have some anxiety about it and you really don't have anything to give from, whether it be time, money, connections, whatever, network, whatever it is, don't do it. Take care of you. Prioritize you above even your family, because again, as I can only speak from a female perspective, I can only give my daughter what I have to give. And if I've been giving it everywhere else outside of my home, and then she is my priority, and I don't have anything to give to her, if I can't give it to her, why would I have given it to everyone else first? So you have to prioritize you first, and then you have to prioritize your life. After that, you have to prioritize what's important. You can't let other people do that for you, because you know what? There's some astute people out here who won't let you do it to them. They won't let you prioritize you over them. Reassess and reevaluate your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it just to collect a check? Because if it's just to collect a check, then let's set our expectations around that. Let's just say this is what we have to do, A, B, C, and D, to get the check, because that is the goal. If it's because you want to share your gifts or your resources, or you feel called to do that, or you think it's a part of your purpose, then let's look at it from that vein, that you're giving of yourself and that you're pouring yourself out as an offering, and that you're using your gifts to advocate or whatever the case may be. And let's set our expectations around that. What is your why? Our why helps us to understand, how we got in the position that we're in and how we should be navigating that position. And what perspective we should take and what we should be focusing on. And that's important. If you don't know why you're doing something, you're just going through the motions, you're more apt to be disgruntled in the process. You're more apt to be overwhelmed when people ask you to do things that's outside of the scope of what you agreed to do. You're more apt to be to not be passionate about it, and to be even bitter or resentful about it. So it's up to you as a leader to reassess and reevaluate your why, because another thing is, if you don't know why you're there or why you're doing it or what your purpose is, then how does your team know? What are they buying into if you don't know? If you're not bought in, they're not bought in. And my most important tip is to connect to your source. So, cell phones are a big deal, right? It's a big deal for me. I use my cell phone. It's right here. It's been here on my lap. I use my cell phone for everything. In fact, I feel like my cell phone has taken the place of my laptop or my computer, because I use it. I mean, I'll write documents on it. Obviously I use it for phone and communicating and texting. All of my emails, I look first at my phone before I even go to the computer. Any documents that come in emails, I look first on my phone. Directions, I mean, Siri is like my Wizard of Oz, right? So if there's any questions that I have, I just go ahead and go to my phone. Everything is in the palm of my hand in this here phone. But and the phone is so important that I have come to almost blows with my kid as we travel, as we look around the airport in particular to find outlets and charging stations. I don't particularly care for charging stations. I don't want to be all up on top of it. I want to be comfortable. So I will go into an airport. I don't care if it's the terminal I'm going out of or not. I just want to look for an outlet with some comfortable seating around it. And I'm going to camp out there until my flight. It's time for me to get on my flight to leave, because I understand one thing, that my phone is wonderful, but my phone is only wonderful when it's charged, right? When I start losing charge, then we got a problem. Guess what? We are the same way. When we start losing a charge, we got a problem. When you lose your connection, you start running out. We talked about having our cup full. I mean, your cup really should be an overflow. That's really the goal. But when you start running low, that's when you know, wait. Now, I'm getting dangerously low. I need something for me before I can give something to you. I need to connect to my charge so I can be refreshed. I can be recharged. I can be renewed. I can be encouraged. I can be filled up to go out and do those things that I am supposed to do, whatever that is for you, whether that is the universe, whether for me it's God, Jesus, whether it's Jehovah, whatever it is. You need to connect to your source. You need to go away, take some time away, and focus on you and plug back in, reconnect, so that you can get filled up to your capacity, so that you're ready to go out here. As a leader, we have to be selfish about these things. We have to be selfish about us, because we are constantly, whether you know it or not, we're constantly in motion. We're constantly being pulled on in every direction. We're constantly being called upon for our leadership abilities and skills, and especially if you are a leader who you've built trust and relationships and integrity, people are going to call on you. I've been in situations where, I have multiple calls going at one time. I have emails coming in or text messages coming in. And sometimes I'm still looking for Calgon now, because sometimes I want Calgon to take me away, because I understand that I'm no good for anybody if I'm not good for me. In order for me to be good, I have to put myself first, and I have to be selfish. And sometimes that even means being like, thank you, Jesus, for closed doors. Thank you for taking me out of certain situations that were no longer good for me or good for them. And that's another thing. And that does take some maturity to understand that every position is not meant for every person at every season of your life. And that's something else I want you to think about as you look to see where you are in your level of stress and being overwhelmed and being burned out and being selfish about about you, because in being selfish and really becoming quiet and going away, you get an opportunity to really to assess where you are in the journey, in the leadership journey, in your life journey. It's all tied together. It's like spaghetti. They all kind of overlap this thing. We're not as compartmentalized and neat, as we think or we would like to be. So be selfish. Be selfish. And get yourself together so that you can be the best for your team and the best for you, the best for your family, the best for your organization, the best for your friend group. Because sometimes, we've been talking about leadership as it relates to professional capacities, but we're also leaders in a lot of our, personal capacities where that is the most draining. If you're caring for a parent, or any of those things, if you are the head of a family, and not just your own immediate family, but your extended family. You may be the matriarch or the patriarch or whatever the case may be, where people are looking to you and pulling on you. This is for you too.